78 Sports TV here. So I'm checking out my boy Boxing Beats and Rhymes page.
Doing it from Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel.
This is Tony Thompson, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Everyone you chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. This is that mere hardcore man store on Boxing Beats and Rhymes YouTube channel.
I don't know if you want to answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Floyd Mayweather. How you feel about that?
Well, basically, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
And Garry Delaney about to make his way towards the ring. There he is. He's from West Ham, which is in the East End of London. He's got his camouflage gear on tonight.
Garry Delaney, who was a light heavyweight from West Ham. He started off pretty well. Heavy-handed puncher. Lots of KOs early on until he ran into Noel McGee, who took his Commonwealth title from him in 7. That was an upset defeat at the time. Lost a little discipline, it seemed, fighting the scales. And he ended up at heavyweight somehow. He ended up at heavyweight. He started as a light heavy. He ended up as a heavyweight. He's fighting Julius Francis. Obviously way out of his size range. And Julius took him apart in 6. Took him apart. I remember David Hay beating him as well. Enzo Maccarinelli beating him. And his career just fizzled out, basically. It just fizzled out, really, It just fizzled out. Now, it's said that Garry just used to like fighting. He used to fight on the streets, and that's why a lot of his fights got cancelled. And he used to date Jodie Marsh, a topless model, a glamour model. And he used to give her a good beating, a good working over. She actually spoke about it, how she was beaten mercilessly by Garry. He was one of the most nastiest, most violent pieces of work you could imagine, said Jodie Marsh in an exclusive interview with the News of the World. I was so scared of him. She kept it quiet for a long time, but then she opened up. She said that he would slap her instead of punching her, so it would leave few less marks. And there's something about kidnapping her on the first date. She was forced to call the police on him after he sent 45 death threats. He chased her around with a knife. But she said because she used to get bullied at school, she always went for big, tough-looking men. It made her feel protected. And there you go. The beatings seemed like they were pretty horrific, because she stopped dating men after that. She became a lesbian after that and started bodybuilding, so it had a profound effect on her, what he did. Garry also worked as a bouncer. And this is where he punched Paul Price without warning after throwing his friend out of a hotel bar in Woodford, East London in 2005. And he killed him with the single punch. He got sentenced to 11 years. The judge told Delaney that he acted like a bully towards them. Your fist became a lethal weapon and now you must pay the price, he said. That's strange because contrary to the belief, boxers do not have to register their hands as lethal weapons. No, they don't. I don't know where that rumor started, but it's not true. It's not actually true. But the judge is saying that his fist became a lethal weapon. I don't know. The judge said he should have known that any punch delivered on a normal citizen was likely to cause serious harm, bringing forward the factor that he was an ex-light heavyweight and Commonwealth cruiserweight champion. Delaney was asked to remove James Farrell, who was with Mr. Price, because the barman said they were being troublesome. In the trial, it was brought up that Delaney sprayed Farrell in the face, or allegedly sprayed Farrell in the face with pepper spray, dragged him outside, dumped him in the shrubbery, and punched him. When Mr. Price remonstrated, Delaney beckoned him over to where his friend was lying and then hit him without warning or reason, the court heard. Mr. Price hit the ground, fracturing his skull on the concrete. Despite surgery, he died later. Delaney did not hang around to finish his shift. He promptly got in his BMW and sped off and forgot to put his headlights on. The judge called him a coward. A bully is a coward, he said. He said, boxing is an honourable sport, but you totally abused the skills that you had acquired as a boxer. Delaney was sentenced to life and will serve at least 11 years before being considered for parole. Delaney denied all charges, saying he was not guilty of murder. Well, Garry's from West Ham. I don't know the layout of it now, but it was predominantly, there was a lot of Jews there, I think, like who immigrated there years back. There's a lot of Jewish boxers who came out of West Ham. And I know it from the 80s, West Ham, as a largely white populated area. A lot of social issues, poverty and stuff, and a lot of the boys used to turn to boxing. They've got some good white boxers from West Ham, you know, there were some good boxers. And, you know, a lot of the white boys there turned to bank robbery, go to the football matches, West Ham Football Club, notoriously known for fighting on the terraces. And the white boys there didn't fuck about. You know, let's just say they didn't fuck about for the most part, you know. And obviously with the name Delaney, there's Irish heritage there. So he's got some of the Irish blood in him, right? You know what I'm saying? So Garry liked to scrap, which is obvious by his choice of jobs, boxing, and bouncing. A lot of them bouncers are dysfunctional motherfuckers, you know? Some of them are. Some of them are. A lot of people don't go to clubs just because of bouncers in London. I tell you that now. So, there you go. There you go. Garry Delaney, dysfunctional boxer. Nigerian-born Ike Ibeabauchi. Apparently, Ike was inspired to fight by watching Mike Tyson. Ike, unbeaten at the time, took on David Tua. This was a significant match in the heavyweight division back then. And Ike outpointed him. Outpointed Tua. And what stood out with that victory is if you compare Lennox Lewis's win against Tua, he basically kept Tua at length. You know, he kept him at length. He didn't want to engage. Let's face it, he didn't. But Ike actually stood in the pocket and banged with David Tua and beat him at his own game, a prime Tua. And I think that just shocked everybody. Nobody knew Ike beforehand. Nobody knew of him. And that just shocked everyone. Wow, where do you come from? This is crazy. I mean, Tua could really punch. Let's not get this twisted. Tua could really punch really hard. And this guy stood in the pocket with him and banged it out. I'm not saying that makes his win any more credible than Lennox's. But to beat Tua with the wrong strategy, it's the wrong strategy, you know, especially if you have the reach advantage. It's the wrong strategy to fight Tua. And to achieve that and break the CompuBox record for whatever punches were thrown at the time, they apparently broke the heavyweight record on the CompuBox for punches thrown over a 12-rounder. I think that's what I'm trying to get at there. He also knocked out Chris Byrd, who was a really good fighter at the time. Very good fighter. He punched spittle out of Chris's mouth when he caught him on the ropes. You know, vicious, vicious. I can't remember what hand uppercut landed with it. Could have been a left uppercut. Just devastating, devastating punch. Unfortunately, after the David Tua fight, Ike started suffering severe headaches. The MRI didn't turn up anything irregular, gave him a clean bill of health. But after that, Ike just went into a fit of crazy. After a sparring session with Ezra Sellers, a cruiserweight, for the most part, he did fight a heavy too. And this guy was a really hard puncher. He knocked out Carl Thompson in the UK. And he floored Johnny Nelson, but Nelson came back and beat him. This guy could really punch hard. And apparently he cut Ike in their sparring session. And I think Ike saw him with a wedding ring for his wife that he must have took out of his sports bag. And Ike said, "You deliberately cut me." And Sellers was saying, "One of your seconds actually wrapped my hands. How could I have cut you?" Now, Ike was choking the guy. He was choking him and punching him in his head on the floor. I think Sellers filed a lawsuit. He scared Lou DiBella on 2 occasions, you know, who was promoting him. Apparently, one time at a dinner, Lou asked Ike, "Where are you living right now, Ike?" And Ike said, "Why? So you could come and kill me." Because Ike was starting to see demons. He was seeing demons and stuff like that. And another time, I think at another dinner, when he thought the WBC was snubbing him in the rankings and wouldn't give him a title shot, he took his dinner knife and went bang into the table really hard, and everybody just looked. They're trying to keep me down, and you know, really angry. And shortly after that, he abducted his girlfriend's 15-year-old son and crashed his car into some kind of pillar and damaged the boy so severely that he will never walk again. And he only got 120 days because they were saying it wasn't deliberate. They actually claimed that Ike was trying to commit suicide more than trying to deliberately injure the boy, which seems crazy to me, you know. Ike then had to do a lengthy bid for 3 sexual assault charges on 3 different women. I'm not sure if one of them was a hooker in a hotel, and he's only come out recently. And I think there's a good case to argue that the tour fight did significant damages to his personality. Ike Ibeabauchi. Carlos Monzon, one of Argentina's best boxers, one of the greatest middleweights ever. You know, tall, rangy, long reach, good puncher, 58 KOs in about 80 odd fights and whatever. Left a string of defeated challengers behind him. Beat the likes of Bennie Briscoe, Emile Griffith, Nino Benvenuti. He only fought once in the US though. Only once against Tony Licata. 10th round stoppage. You know, reading the box rec, I was shocked to discover that, really. You know, he fought in France and a few places around Europe quite a lot, and obviously a load of fights in Argentina. He didn't need America. He was massive in Argentina. He was like a movie star. You know, the paparazzi used to follow him about. He actually beat up members of the paparazzi, so he was no joke. He had several mistresses and a few wives, a lot of whom reported him for domestic violence and abuse. One of his wives actually shot him in the leg in 1973, and it took 7 hours of surgery to remove the bullet. He had affairs with actresses, so he was living the high life. He was really living the high life. And he did have some hard fights, like, you know, Bennie Briscoe nearly took him out, but Bennie Briscoe, you know, a Philly fighter, he wasn't no joke. But he recovered to outpoint Bennie. And the ring is a hard place to earn your money. And there's no neurological evidence in this video to suggest that that's what pushed him to beat up his women and his girlfriend. And, you know, eventually he was charged with murdering his Uruguayan model girlfriend, Alicia Muniz. They also had a child together. He was found guilty in 1989 of homicide, received an 11-year sentence, and I don't know how it got reduced, because in 1995, I think he was given a weekend furlough while serving his term, and he went to visit his family and children. He died in a car crash. Thousands of people turned out for his funeral. He was a wild boy. He was a wild boy. Very wild boy. And there you go. There you go. An all-time great. A dysfunctional genius, basically, you know.